The chaos at Bethpage. The air above Bethpage Black still trembled long after the final putt dropped. The crowd, restless and roaring, felt less like golf fans and more like a storm breaking loose. Red, white, and blue flags blurred in the September dusk, voices rose into the New York night, and a question began to whisper beneath the noise. Had golf just lost its soul? The 2025 Ryder Cup was supposed to be a celebration, a test of pride, rivalry, and respect between continents. But what unfolded that weekend felt nothing like the sport people had known for a century. The chants weren't cheers anymore. They were jeers. Cups were thrown. Players were heckled mid-swing. The air smelled of adrenaline, beer, and broken tradition. Even for golf, a sport built on quiet dignity, the line between passion and poison had blurred. Veteran voices stood stunned. Tom Watson, who had captained Ryder Cup teams decades earlier, said it was the most ashamed I've ever felt watching my country play. His voice cracked with disbelief as he apologized publicly for the behavior of the American crowd. That word, ashamed, hung in the air like a bruise no one wanted to touch. Gary Player, the South African legend known for his honesty and discipline, went further. "It's the worst event in the world right now," he said, "not because of the golf, because of what surrounds it." And he wasn't wrong. The noise had drowned out the grace. The tension had smothered the art. For decades, the Ryder Cup had been golf's heartbeat, where sportsmanship met rivalry and pride met restraint. But in 2025, something cracked. What was once a celebration of unity had turned into a battlefield of insults and ego. As the sun set on Bethpage Black, players walked off not as champions or losers, but as witnesses to something uncomfortable. The headlines didn't praise performances. They asked questions. Has golf gone too far? The loudest cup in history. Bethpage meltdown. And as the storm settled, one man remained silent. He wasn't in the locker room. He wasn't at the press conference. He wasn't even on the course. He was watching from Jupiter, Florida, quietly, deliberately, as the sport he'd given everything to seem to forget what it once stood for. That man was Tiger Woods. For weeks, fans speculated, why hadn't Tiger said anything? Why wasn't he there? Months earlier, he'd turned down the U.S. captaincy, saying his body wasn't ready. His commitments to the PGA Tour and TGL were too heavy. It sounded practical, but to many, it felt symbolic. Tiger Woods, golf's greatest competitor, was stepping back, not just from a role, but from a moment that defined the sport. Some said he was tired, others whispered he was disgusted. But those who truly knew Tiger knew he was waiting for the noise to die down, waiting for the right moment to speak, when words could actually be heard. Because when Tiger speaks, the golf world listens. And that silence, that long, deliberate pause, became the loudest sound in golf. The voice that shook the game days turned into weeks, and still, nothing. No statement, no interview, no tweet, just silence. For a man who had carried golf on his shoulders for decades, Tiger Woods' absence from the Ryder Cup conversation felt almost haunting. Cameras caught glimpses of him in Jupiter, walking slowly, practicing in solitude, his expression unreadable. The world filled his silence with its own theories. Some said he was angry. Some said he was heartbroken. Others said he simply didn't care anymore. But Tiger Woods had never been careless. His silence was never emptiness, it was strategy. He wasn't avoiding the conversation. He was studying it. Then, one quiet Thursday morning, months after Bethpage, the silence broke. It wasn't at a press conference or a televised event. There were no flashing cameras, no red carpets, no fanfare. It was a small, intimate sit-down, Tiger in a gray sweater, calm, centered, and completely in control. The interviewer asked gently, "Tiger, you watched the 2025 Ryder Cup from home. What did you feel?" Tiger paused, long enough for the room to breathe. Then he said, with a voice steady as stone, "Golf has always been a game of respect. For the course, for your opponent, and for yourself. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that." There was no anger in his tone, no accusation. Just truth, heavy, precise, and piercing. He continued, "What I saw at Bethpage wasn't passion. It was a loss of restraint. And when that happens, we stop playing golf. We start playing something else entirely." For years, Tiger had been accused of being too intense, too private, too focused on winning. But now, it was that same focus, that mastery of composure, that made his words cut deeper than any headline. "We all share responsibility," he said. "Players, fans, media, everyone who loves this game. Respect isn't old-fashioned. It's the foundation." That single word, foundation, hit differently, because Tiger wasn't just talking about golf. He was talking about values. He didn't name names. He didn't scold the fans. Instead, he reminded everyone what greatness actually sounds like. Not loud, not angry, but disciplined, deliberate, and deeply human. Then came the line that would echo across the sports world. You can't build legacy on disrespect. Can't build legacy on disrespect. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of every round he'd ever played, every win he'd ever earned, every scar he'd ever hidden behind silence. The clip went viral within hours, not because it was flashy, but because it was real. Across clubhouses, on podcasts, and social media threads, players and fans replayed those sentences again and again. It wasn't a rant. It wasn't a lecture. It was a mirror. Even the loudest critics stopped talking and started listening. Tom Watson, still raw from his earlier apology, called Tiger's message a breath of truth the game needed. He said softly, "We can't fix the crowd overnight, but we can fix ourselves." And that starts with the example we set. Gary Player, who had once called the Ryder Cup the worst event in the world, softened too. He admitted that his anger came not from hate, but from heartbreak. Tiger reminded us what golf means, Player said. And maybe we all needed reminding. Even Jack Nicklaus, the Golden Bear himself, spoke up in an interview with Sports Illustrated. "That's what leadership looks like," Nicklaus said. "Not volume, vision." Tiger didn't shout, he led. For the first time since Bethpage, golf wasn't talking about chaos. It was talking about character. A new phrase began circulating through the golf community. On locker room walls, online threads, and tee boxes around the world, protect the game. It wasn't a marketing campaign. It was a movement. Tiger's words had done what no trophy could. They'd restored belief. He hadn't just broken his silence. He'd broken the spell of noise that had consumed the sport. And in that quiet, something began to heal. The return to grace. In the weeks that followed Tiger Woods' statement, the golf world began to feel different. It wasn't loud. It wasn't sudden. It was quiet, almost sacred. The same sport that had once echoed with jeers and shouting was learning to breathe again. Commentators spoke with more care. Players shook hands longer after matches. Even fans, once wild with adrenaline, began to rediscover the art of restraint. Something had shifted. Tiger's message, "You can't build legacy on disrespect," had become more than a quote. It had become a creed. Tom Watson, Gary Player, and Jack Nicklaus, three of the game's most respected voices, stood shoulder to shoulder once again. This time, not as critics, but as custodians. Watson called Tiger's words a bridge between shame and accountability. Gary Player admitted his earlier fury had come from love, not anger. Tiger reminded us that respect isn't weakness, it's strength. And Nicklaus, the eternal guardian of golf's legacy, pushed for reform. In a detailed proposal to the PGA of America, he suggested empowered marshals with the authority to remove disruptive fans. Stricter crowd codes of conduct? No exceptions. Mental health resources for players facing the pressure of global events. These aren't punishments, Nicklaus said. They're promises. That word, promises, caught fire. Because what happened at Bethpage had not just been about misbehavior. It was about losing something sacred. And the world of golf was ready to earn it back. Across social media, the phrase, "Our protect the game," became a quiet rallying cry. It wasn't about scolding fans. It was about honoring a tradition. Clubs began hosting respect rounds, small charity tournaments celebrating sportsmanship and etiquette. Commentators quoted Tiger's words on air before tournaments began. Even younger players, kids who grew up watching him, began to mirror his tone. Humble, disciplined, grounded. In press rooms, the questions changed too. Instead of "Who hit the longest drive?" reporters asked, "Who showed the most character?" Golf wasn't just being played again, it was being remembered. Weeks later, at a twilight practice session at Medalist Golf Club, a single camera caught a sight that went viral for all the right reasons. Tiger Woods, no sponsors, no entourage, walking down the fairway at dusk, a single bag over his shoulder, the Florida air heavy with calm. No applause, no cheers, just the rhythm of his steps, the whisper of the wind, and the last light of the sun fading behind the trees. He stopped near the edge of the fairway, placed his bag down, and gazed across the course. That quiet, perfect landscape where it had all begun. The voiceover from his earlier interview echoed like a prayer. Honesty isn't about judgment. It's about protecting what you love. In that moment, Tiger wasn't just the face of golf. He was its conscience. By winter, the PGA of America announced new initiatives, programs aimed not just at rules, but at restoring the spirit of the game. Quiet zones were created for fans to reset during matches. Respect first, training for volunteers and staff. Legacy talks hosted by former legends before major tournaments opened conversations about what golf truly means. And when the first tee shot of the 2026 season cracked through the morning air, something was different. No chaos, no confrontation, just applause. Measured, genuine, human. It wasn't perfection, but it was progress. In a rare interview months later, Tiger was asked how he felt seeing the game change after his words. He smiled faintly and said, "I didn't change the game. The game just remembered who it was." Those 10 words became the heartbeat of a sport reborn. From chaos to clarity, from noise to grace, golf had walked through its darkest moment and found its light again. Not because of one man's voice, but because that voice reminded everyone to listen.